Hey, DTA Nation, Ted here. We are excited to have Old Southern Barbecue riding with us again for the 2026 season. If you're craving great barbecue in the metro area, visit one of their 5 metro locations, or you can go onto their website, oldsouthernbarbecue.com, and order food from there. In addition, use DTA15 to get 15% off any of their sauces, rubs, or merch in their online store. Now back to the show.
And welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And Ted T.S. Spirides.
And the source.
Happy Friday morning. Happy college lacrosse season. Happy post-Super Bowl. We don't know who won yet at the time of this recording. Source didn't watch it anyway, so it doesn't matter. How's everybody doing this week?
Happy Friday the 13th, right?
Oh, spooky season.
This will be a Friday the 13th drop. I'll have to double check the calendar. I might have to edit this out, but
nope, it is Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. No, are you superstitious or just a little stitious? I don't know. But hopefully the listeners liked section 1. I was a healthy scratch during section 1. Had some previous engagements, so you guys did a great job. I listened to the episode. And nice work kicking things off for the Minnesota State High School League season previews. We're almost there.
We're working off the rust. The source, though, you're coming up with some upgrades. What's the new setup over there?
Got a little new setup. No longer the $9.99 Skull Candy headset. I got a real headset with a real mic, so I'm ready to go.
So is this the Bill Belichick setup, or what are you calling it?
It is kind of the Bill Belichick setup. It's the $35 off Amazon setup, I think is what it is.
All right. Love it. We're going into section 2, since last week was section 1, and we're gonna be gaining a new listener for this episode. Orono, lacrosse dad, just getting started in the process. Shout out to Mr. Long Henry out of Orono, obviously. Coworker of mine. I think his daughter's going into season 2, U8, I believe, if all my facts are correct. So jumping into DTA Nation, hopefully he drags some more youth Orono girls lax dads into the pile here.
Yeah, and speaking of section 2, last year when we did section 2, I think we dropped the potential of the new Old Southern Barbecue location is in a section 2 community, the city of Main Street. It's Excelsior. Section 2 is the section of Main Street. It's in Excelsior, according to Coach Brunsvold, has a great Main Street. And now a year in the making, we have an Excelsior location, Old Southern Barbecue. Again, riding with us in 2026.
We were talking about this too in the office, because now people are like, well, like some people knew about the podcast. Some other guys in the office were like, well, what's going on here? We got to the Old Southern part of the podcast, and they're like, Old Southern Barbecue. I was like, there's one, in the area here. Our office is in Tonka. And they're like, oh yeah, boom. So the people know about Old Southern. More people are learning about DTA. And they've got, what are they starting to think about now that Super Bowl is out of the way? What are we gearing up for now?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't, there's a couple things here. I think, it's Friday the 13th as of this episode, the listeners hearing it. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. If you want some red velvet cake, Old Southern Barbecue is got their red velvet cake. It's a promotional item, so go get that. That's going to be limited time only. I know Katie was a fan, and she's a stickler when it comes to red velvet. I mean, she's a
stickler about everything, but yeah, cake too.
True. That's true. But if you can't get the cake, we're getting into that spring season. And Steve, maybe you can add to this. I think it's about that time you got to start planning graduation parties, because if that's going to happen in June, now is the time to start thinking about that kind of stuff.
The source, didn't you build a whole new deck in your backyard for grad party season?
I redid my entire deck for grad party season. You might be on the clock to get your name in for all your tents and your chairs and your tables and your catering. So absolutely, Old Southern Barbecue. Check them out.
Yeah, and we've had a couple listeners, players that we've coached, families that we've worked with that have done the Old Southern catering. We've catered Old Southern Barbecue for events of our own, not grad parties, but other events. They do a great job. The food is delicious. Everybody loves barbecue for every event, but especially, high school kids coming to a grad party and getting barbecue. There's nothing better. So if you're thinking about what are you going to do for your senior grad party season, give Old Southern Barbecue Catering a call to talk to Amy. She'll set you up.
I'm already starting to get the invites to grad parties. Got a couple today. Threw them on the calendar. I'm a maybe for all grad parties. I don't know what my calendar is going to be looking like during grad party season, so I throw a maybe on all of them. Don't be offended if you invite me and I don't show up. I want to be at all of them. I'm at all, in spirit. But it our coach's schedule. It's hard to make them all. But yeah, into section 2, we've got our guests in the waiting room. Do we want to let them in, or are we not mentally prepared? Do we need to do anything to prepare for this guy?
No, I think we're ready to roll here.
This guy's a wild card. He's been on the podcast before. Offensive coordinator out of Tonka, controversial character, one of one. We're excited to have him on. Mr. Brunsvold, welcome back to Down the Alley.
Thanks, guys. It's 5th episode here, so excited to be back again.
5th episode we've had you on?
Yeah, no.
Holy, you're keeping count? Is this like is this on your resume or what?
I don't. You get a plaque or something for the 5th episode?
I think that's at 10. That's at 10. So you got 5 more to go. Before we dive into section 2, that's what we have you. It's what we have you for primarily. I know you're kind of a Winter League hero. What are you hearing in the domes? In this cold winter. I know you're helping a program out. What are you seeing? What are your eyes telling you here?
Yeah, no, guest coach with Waconia right now doing their off season. So that's been super cool. Live in Waconia. So awesome to see kind of one of the needs I thought was coaching that JV team last year and the varsity in the Winter League. Like it was tough, like the JV team playing like Edina varsity or like YZ varsity. So like putting another Waconia in there to compete with some of these other teams, it's been super positive for them. And yeah, just observing, Stillwater looks like a really strong team right now. I didn't really know what to expect with them. Thought they lost some key offensive pieces. They look kind of like a well-oiled machine offensively right now. And obviously they have Casey and Net. So defensively, I think that's a team that's probably going to be very stagnant from where they were last year. I don't think they take a dip at all. And then, like we talked about last year, kind of tough to tell with some teams. Like Edina's got half a team there. So you can't really even look at their scores. And then, I'm liking what I'm seeing with Minnetonka so far. So yeah, kind of high level.
All right, moving along here. We'll get back on the train tracks because we don't have all night. We've got the girls coaches coming on. We've got office hours later. Section 2. The 2025. Kind of looking back before we look forward. Tonka was the 1 seed going in. Section winner Orono, runner up. Historic season with a new coach, 13-3. Was that the difference maker that was needed? Maybe. Buffalo, the 3rd seed, followed up by Chanhassen to run out your top 4. I feel like, clip me if I'm way off. There was no major surprises from DTA Nation. Looking at that, as we kind of previewed, if I remember correctly, that's probably somewhere along the lines of what we previewed a year ago.
Yeah, I feel like that those top 4 teams, we're all kind of in our top four in some order, some way or another. I think we all had Minnetonka across the board. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of like you're right. No surprises. Minnetonka took care of business. Really wasn't nobody was really even competitive with them in the section tournament.
Um, one thing to note here, Section 2, last year was the first year without Shakopee and Eden Prairie. We welcomed them in Section 6, the section of death, with open arms. We love bringing all the top programs into Section 6 and having our own state tournament. So Section 2, anything of note, Orono had that new coach last year. Buffalo, I think, has had the same staff for a couple years now. Same with Tonka. According to my sources here, kind of a consistent staff there. Chanhasen's been similar for a very long time. Same with Chaska. Anything to note on staffs or new teams or teams leaving or coming in?
No, I think it's all pretty much the same heading into 26.
Well, easy enough. Looking forward now for Brunsvold. This is why it brought you in. Not just for Tonka, but to, bring light to this section, break down some of these teams, top players. Where do you have any preference on where you would like to start, Brunsvold?
Freshest in my head, easiest to talk about for me is Minnetonka. We could start there.
Well, let's start at the top. That's at the top of our list. On the DTA side of things. I guess we won't rank them while you're on, but preview. They're my number one team going to 2026 in Section 2. What's Tonka? What have they graduated? What are they bringing back? And what's the momentum here going into 2026?
Yeah, no, 2025 was a super good year for the team. We didn't reach every goal that we wanted to, fell a little short in the end, like several other teams, but we really got back into the conversation of competing and we're really on the doorstep of doing something really special, but never really trickled into that tier one per se. You guys look at your votes. I like the votes that you guys have put out for the top tens. We never got a first place vote, but we were probably one of the best teams to not get a first place vote. We just never trickled into that first tier. But in terms of like the second tier teams, we were right there kind of on the door knocking. And it's kind of a tough thing to accept. We just never really got there. But what we did do is we improved in every single statistical category and metric you can imagine. And we got the compete levels up. We got a lot of the details down, got a little bit of the ways to go. And we kind of just broke through and improved the win total. And we had some guys achieve small American, small state that we haven't been recognized for in previous years. So that was awesome to see. We haven't had an All American since my brother was there in 2019. So we had him and Ishii were the ones in 2019. We had two last year too. So that was super cool to kind of get back on the board there and have guys get recognized for their talents. We had 5 All-State guys last year. We returned 4 of them. So that's a super positive thing. And I guess the high level is we did graduate 200 points. 125 of those points are from Gabe. And he set the Minnesota points record last year in a season, which was super cool to see. He was an 125 point guy. And that was just really cool to see him break through. He was the perfect player that I could ask for the first year in that offense. He had a chip to him that we're going to miss. He was a great rider. He was kind of the party starter in the offense, and he was hungry to kind of get his in the ride, turning it into goals. So we'll miss some of that 200 points, like I said, but we do return a lot of the defense. We return key pieces on the offense, and we return our entire special team. So there's some things we got to make up, and some areas where we're going to be really strong initially.
The only area that hasn't been talked about, would be goaltending. I think you graduated maybe a goalie. A program like Tonka, the size of it, I'm sure you've got some options coming up. Any sneak peeks on, what might be in that pipeline for the Skippers?
Yeah, no, Alex is going to be the goalie this year, and he's going to really do a great job. He got a lot of time over the last 2 years, and what I'll say is the difference is Tarafinko came in 2 years ago. He inherited 10th grade, and 10th grade starting defense, and now Alex gets to come back into a situation where he's got three seniors, two of which have been all state in front of him, and he's going to see really favorable shots that he's going to eat up. And no, we have a lot of confidence in him that he's going to do really well. So it's a great situation to come into. The situations the last couple of years where we were really young, a little bit tougher, but it's just going to be really favorable for him. And he's going to do a great job back there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you don't have to open up the playbook or anything like that, but you mentioned you lost Gabe Miller, 125 points in a season. That's, to me, that screams like, the guy who demands the ball, wants the ball in his stick, like you said, wants to start the party on offense, not even from like a selfish perspective, but like he wants to be the guy, the alpha to make the plays, and put the team and the offense on his back. You do get 2, 3, and 4 scorers back, Cassidy, Kolar, Winkler. Do you feel like the offensive philosophy might change because are any of those guys similar to Gabe, where it's like, I want to be the next guy, or is it more balanced, or how are you looking at it going into next year?
Good question. I think it is a bit more balanced. But there's going to be, like, we look at Laird right now. Laird is returning 74 points. He's the state's leading scorer coming into the season with 74. Charlie at 59, Tommy at 57. They're both right there too. So those three, fun fact about the three, Laird is 6'6". He's like 240 something pounds probably. He shoots 98 on my radar gun last year. So like, the big thing with Laird is like, let me just figure out how to get this kid to just throw his. I've seen him in the Dome League just throwing bodies around. He threw a guy into the stands on one of the rides. He's going to be a monster this year, especially with the time and room shooting. Charlie, probably the most athletic midfielder in the state. I have really high hopes from him. I think he's going to have a really improved season. I think he could take the next level. Both of those guys were all state. I think they could take the next level and really bring this offense forward. So, like, are we going to have 125? No. And then, like, Tommy's going to be extremely improved. Another year in the system. He was out that first year. So this was like kind of his first year playing a full season. And he's going to be extremely improved. I think he could take that next step and improve significantly on his metrics. He's also a 215, 20-pound guy. So I got three guys that are like 6'2", 6'3", 6'6", and 200 plus pounds here. So I'm excited for what I got. It'll be cool. The one pro with the systems I brought forward, a lot of the system obviously carried forward from when I was coaching in college, and it really benefits attackmen. I was able to kind of develop and basically double the point totals of the attack, and the attack there with Laird and Tommy, they're going to do great. We have a lot of points to make up, but like not worried at all. What'll be interesting though, alluded a little bit to it, Ted. It's I knew kind of what I was getting into last year with my top six, and I don't necessarily know that as well this year. Like, out of the top 11 guys playing in a typical competitive game, I would say 5 of them were taxi squad or JV guys last year, and it doesn't really concern me. We had a very good, very deep JV team, but like, it's going to be interesting, competitive. It'll be telling. So we might start playing 8 middies in a game. Maybe that goes down. Maybe that goes up. We'll figure it out. But it reminds me of the prior league model where you'd probably play a lot of guys early on and kind of see who's hot.
Moving on to the number 2 team in Section 2 in 2025, Orono, coming off a 13-3 season, lost to the Skippers in the finals, looking to build on huge momentum in 2025. I think they graduate a ton, just kind of glancing at things. What do we know about Orono, and how do they look going into 2026?
Before I get to Orono, I didn't get to touch on some of my D guys. So Q, quick, returning All-American, 102 on the radar gun. He's going to be dangerous. I got face-off wise, we got Fortner, recently committed to Rockhurst. Excited for him. Winnie and Tate, we're going to get Tate back halfway through the year. Excited about that. Jumping to Orono.
Oh, good.
Let me give those guys their flowers. Orono, very well coached team. Josh at Minnetonka got coach of the year. But Orono was very well coached as well. So credit to Josh getting coach of the year. I thought Orono, the job that they did over there was very solid. I thought they were well coached. I thought they were much improved offensively and defensively. They did a good job pushing the ball. They had more of a it wasn't a yellow offense every possession. So I thought they did a good job. The headlines with Orono, played them in Winter League undercover with Waconia. So I have everything on them. They got 2 really good polls. It's Vinton, I think it is. He's a North Dakota State football commit as like a D end or something. He's going to be wearing the Jake Anderson number 60. Very good player. Mitchell Volk, I believe that's his name.
Yep.
Also a very good player. Both guys are very tall, good skill. The other headline with them, they graduated a lot of seniors, but and they lost.
They lost 75% of their scoring. That's, I think, and just kind of like to touch on section 2, as I went through a lot of these teams, there was a lot of offense that graduated in this section. I mean, even at Minnetonka, you guys obviously have some of the depth to replace it, but all these teams were losing all their scoring. So this could be the section of defensive battles this year. But I think you're right. I think Orono, they have some pieces on defense, but I don't know who's gonna come up to replace 200 points out of 4 or 5 players that they had. They had a freshman, Asher Shelley, but it sounds like he maybe has gone to prep school. So he was kind of on my list of the only potential option to build this team around, and it sounds like he's gone. They're not. I guess it's going to be built around this Van Patten guy who was also a freshman. He had 8 points last year. I think he's the only
cross. He's a good player.
Yeah, no, I think, and I've heard that he is. So I think it's going to be his show now, and he's going to have to, he's going to have to figure out how to, help this team score. I think defensively they'll be able to stay in games, but they lost so many players that all had double-digit points.
It's a serious, like, if we're going to lose, like, we have 20 very promising seniors a year, and if we lose 1 or 2 of them to prep schools, it's not the best thing for our state. So it's an interesting topic. I don't know. It's tough, but I thought he was a very good player, so I'm sure he'll do well there. Now going off Orono from when I played them, the big takeaway that I had honestly was they're pretty well coached. Like, the offensive system in place is going to be a little recession proof with the talent loss. They moved the ball well. They kind of knew who they were. The ball flowed nicely. They set themselves up for good isolations. They had good off-ball movement. So, like, I believe the O coordinator is one of the Wheat Kings guys. It looks like they're doing, like, there's some good things going on in Orono, and they were right outside of the top 10 if you're looking at lax numbers. And I feel like you look at lax numbers from like 24 to 25, like one of the most improved teams in the state. So, like, I think what they did was pretty sustainable, honestly. Even with all the talent losses, I thought they were a well-coached team.
Love the financial term with recession proof. Buffalo, the number 3 rated team going into section tournament last year for section 2, 8-7 last year. Obviously, Buffalo. If you've been around DTA Nation, you know my feelings about Bison Boulevard. I love Bison Boulevard. I would love for this stock to get hot again and hop on this wagon and watch them upset my boy Brunsvold in a section final or semifinal in 2026. I don't know if this is the year that I'm gonna make my claim on Buffalo. Am I wrong? Should I be? What are they looking like coming back in 2026?
From what I know, they did graduate a lot. Highlighted 2 seniors, Munger, Thomas Munger. He's going to Belmont Abbey. He's a bigger kid. Like uses his body well. Good little post-up game. They have a defender going to Maryville, Jay Vinsum.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they got some horses, but they did graduate a lot from what I was seeing. And that's kind of where I thought they graduated a lot of their offense personally. Their goalie from last year, who I think graduated, Lindell, was really, really good. He was a starter there for a long time. He was the type of guy that was getting them double-digit saves every single game. So I don't know what the goalie situation looks like. I will see them in a few weeks in the Dome. But yeah, they have some high-end talent. Like I know Youngquist is a good midi that they have. But I could see they graduated Lang, Weber, a couple other guys up top, and they don't do a good job of posting their ages on the Lax Hub. But yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. No grad years, but I was able to kind of figure out through some Google searching. But yeah, lost their top 5 scorers, their goalie, their starting goalie, and their faceoff guy. So key positions. But like you said, they have 2 polls, 2 returning starting polls, Beckman and Bimson going to Maryville coming back. And it looks like they do have a 2028 goalie, Max Worm. That did get some time last year as a freshman. So, still on the younger end, but at least he's not coming in and playing his first varsity game. He got a little bit of, backup time last year. So, kind of feels similar to Orono to me. They have some defensive pieces and they just got to figure out that offense.
To wrap this section up, we got 2 teams that we're going to cover intensively, or, as we have been, and they're both out of Carver County. Chanhassen, unlike every other team where, we've graduated this, we've graduated that, Chanhassen rolled out with a young did they have any graduations last year? They may not have. I'm sure they had a couple.
They graduated 2 guys. I think there's 2 seniors.
I'm sure they had a couple, but Chanhassen is building for the future. I don't know if this is their year. They might be a year away, maybe 2. But when they're back, they're going to be back, and they've got a big crop coming. I don't know if they had a little kind of glitch in the system of youth with COVID or something, but they've got a wave coming, and it feels like they're bringing everyone back in 2026.
I will say that, we've been doing this podcast for 6 years or 5 years, whatever. And, Chanhassen's always been loaded with all these great players. And I want to go on the record. I don't know if the Chanhassen players or staff listens to this, but I thought last year was one of the best coaching jobs that group did of all their years. They had 8th and 9th graders going out there on varsity, and they took their lumps, but they found a way to compete and, get some nice wins, battle. And I think they're going to see some dividends get it paid now, kind of with this model of going all in on a younger age group. Those guys are going to be battle tested this year, next year. Their leading scorer was an eighth grader last year. So, some would look at that and say like, ooh, that's rough, but that kid's going to have a ton of experience by the time he becomes an upperclassman. They get their Yale commit Paul back, defensive player of the year, the Old Southern Barbecue defensive player of the year, Riley Severson. They get a bunch of middies that were ninth and 10th graders. So I agree. I think maybe not this year, but they are the opposite of everybody else in this section where they just have a lot of young guys. And so maybe they're zigging while everybody else is zagging. I like Chanhassen this year as kind of a sleeper, at least to maybe make things interesting.
Dawson Perry, defender there, going to UIndy as well. That's another call out.
Yep.
Yeah, historically just really young. I think there's a slight argument to be made too that I think Chaska's winning a couple of the guys back. I think in this 10th, 11th grade year, they might have retained one or two guys that maybe went to Chanhassen 5 or 6 years ago.
Sure.
So with the rise of Chaska, if you want to call it a rise, they're getting better. Chanhassen maybe took some of the pipeline away, but they definitely have great pieces. Yeah, I think you guys hit it well.
You mentioned Chaska. Chaska, the fifth seed last year, graduating one of the more electric players of 2025, and Cam Atterbury putting up 87 points. There's some different highlights that hit the wavelengths on Instagram and whatnot. One of Goltz's favorite players, I think, if I remember correctly. Now he is at Maryville. What does this team do in 2026? Are they going to be making a jump and getting in that top four?
I didn't see a lot of them, but the couple games that I saw of Chaska, it was very clear that Atterbury ran the show offensively. I don't know if that was by design or if that was him just being, a great talent. But they get a lot of their middies and some of their depth scoring and some pulls and a goalie back. But I'm interested to see just how life is going to be without Atterbury kind of slicing and dicing all over the place. He could get to the rack, he could get goals when they needed them. I think it's going to have to be a little bit more team effort on offense. It was assuming there's not some superstar coming up that I don't know about. But they get Cunningham and Brandt back, a couple really good polls. They got Reese Witheridge up in goal. So they have some guys that are ready to make the jump. I think this section is pretty wide open, at least to be a contender with Minnetonka. So this could be a year that Chaska could really take the next step, in my opinion.
I'm going to be honest. I tuned into the Chaska game last year, and I thought Chaska had a chance to kind of finally get that one versus Chan, and they kind of let me down. But I do have some intel from you guys from the Dome. We got a 5-4 final. Chaska Breck beating Buffalo.
All right. So the Chaska Breck co-op in Winter League beat Buffalo 5-4. Defensive battle.
So what I'm trying to say is I don't know if they get past Chan, but hey, if they can retain that in the season, they're a top 4 Section 2 team.
Yeah, I would agree.
Outside of that, one player that we want to shout out, and I know you've been talking very highly of this goalie out of Hutchinson. What's going on with him? What is this kid just a stud? Is he going to carry Hutchinson in the top 4? Is that possible? What's the scouting report on this kid?
He plays up a few years. I saw he had some sort of shout out or write up from some tournament, but he's like a huge 6'3" goalie, just kind of keeping Hutchinson in some games. So that was kind of a player to watch. That I have a couple players to watch from a couple different teams that we're probably not going to touch on too much. But that's one where it's like, whoa, this kid, you play a team like Hutchinson and you're a similar level. you could easily find yourself in a 17 save game, and maybe that's a team that could pull an upset or two.
Yeah, Sid Mayland is his name. One of the better goalies I've seen in high school currently. I saw him at that Minnesota lacrosse showcase last year, and I thought he was a senior, honestly, by like his physical tools and just how he played. And nope, only 2028. So he's got a few more years left at the high school level at Hutchinson or prep school or wherever he goes. But yeah, super solid player.
Other than that, any closing thoughts on section 2 from anybody on the call?
I think the Waconia team that I'm coaching right now, two really good offensive players to watch, Nolan Rothstein and Ethan Luegi. Coach Jarmus is doing a really good job in Waconia. It's just a totally different situation. They kind of just got a booster club going. It's a newer community, and they're doing a really good job. They graduated a lot of seniors, but like the next tier up is much more skilled, but young. So a little bit of a ways to go, but just wanted to shout that out. Coach them there, and then one Minnetonka guy I didn't give a shout out to, Ostendorf. Really good. I gave him the Tarafinko midway through the season last year, and within like 5 minutes, the kid's a 2 point a game guy, just like going from defense to offense. So like he's like our little Tarafinko in on the Minnetonka team. So that's one guy I think I forgot there.
Brunsvold, thanks for coming on Down the Alley, breaking down section 2. Good luck to you and the Skippers in 2026.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Brunsy.
And we're going to jump over to the Sources show for section 2.
Hey, DTA Nation, Ted here. We are excited to have Old Southern Barbecue riding with us again for the 2026 season. If you're craving great barbecue in the metro area, visit one of their 5 metro locations, or you can go onto their website, oldsouthernbarbecue.com, and order food from there. In addition, use DTA 15 to get 15% off any of their sauces, rubs, or merch in their online store. Now back to the show.
Hi.
Hey, Jane, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show. Jane Kolar, Orono head coach. Honest question, did you know anything about Down the Alley before I cold emailed you a couple weeks ago?
I did. My players listen.
Okay, that's good. That's good. PMAC is deep in the Orono youth, girls youth lacrosse scene, so he can be a little insight of what's coming up in probably 10 years into your program.
Good. Hopefully I make it that long.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to all of us and the listeners? What are you doing this off season and what's going on in your life?
Yeah. Jane Kolar, here, 4th year as head coach at Orono. Didn't have any Orono connections or necessarily know anything about Orono before I started. But I knew I wanted to take over a program, and I had some assistant coaches in mind. So I was looking for a place where there was room to hire some assistants, and Orono was that the year I was looking. It's been a great 3 years, and I'm really excited about year 4. We totally have changed the program in 3 years. Last year being the most successful ever, first conference win in school history, first section win in school history, and then therefore first state tournament appearance in school history. So made a name for ourselves finally, but it was 3 years in the making. It all started year 1 when we flipped the record, and we had a great year 2, and year 4 is going to be just as good because we have a very similar team coming back.
Yeah, you checked a lot of boxes last year and maybe touch a little bit on last year's team. Lost in the state consolation to Maple Grove, close game 9-7. But a good showing. And tell us a little bit about that, and then I can give a little story about PMAC and I in the preseason last year, scoping and looking at your team.
Yeah, I think first time state tournament appearance jitters got the best of us for sure. It was very intimidating, and the girls had no idea what to expect. They did great. They did have a great showing. We had some injuries. with some of our starters. So that didn't help, but we were still really happy with how things turned out. And, that was not the first time we had seen Maple Grove that season, and it had always been a close one against them. So they did really well, and we love playing them. It's always a fun game.
Yeah, last year, I was telling PMAC, like, Orono, like, we keep an eye on them, like they're going to be a wagon. And we were at the BSM spring scrimmage, and we were on the fence, and Layla was on the 8 meter. I'm like, okay, watch this, and she's just stung up right corner, just bang. And he's like, okay, oh yeah, okay, noted. And next possession down, essentially exactly the same spot, same play, same top right corner. And he's like, okay, yeah, that's legit. I understand what's going on here now, and I'm interested. So yeah, that was I think PMAX maybe introduction to the high school program, and maybe a little belief that I have a little idea of what's going on out there.
There was never a doubt. Come on.
Thanks.
That's always a fun day. Funny story about those BSM scrimmages. That is where we found our starting midi. Alex Paulson, she was a senior. She was going to senior manage for her senior friends who were on the team. And we were warming up for that first game at BSM. And she asked if she could warm up the goalies. I didn't even know she knew how to hold a lacrosse stick. She'd never played, and she started ripping shots, probably too hard for a goalie warm up. But I was like, all right, you're jumping in practice this week. And by next Monday, she became our starting midi with Layla and Dylan, and scored a ton of goals. Now is playing hockey at Harvard. So she was just a one and done, but that will always be a memory from BSM.
Well, absolutely, and that's quite a story. I got a little bit of insight into that from one of my sources that to ask about that. But yeah, that's quite. I didn't realize the first half of that, where she was literally came off on took her manager's jacket off and bang, starting lineup. That's pretty remarkable.
It was awesome.
Well, obviously, if she's playing hockey at Harvard, she's definitely an athlete, so she knows what's going on. Top 3 scorers returning next year, led by Dylan Collins, going D1 Furman as a senior. Layla Nick, Boston College, not a big deal at all. And then Riley Teal, who had 80 points last year.
Our sneaky secret sauce.
Yeah, not that sneaky really, but yeah, she's pretty crafty actually on the attack side. I'm sorry, 89 points last year. Talk about those 3. What's like coaching those 3 and having kind of a 3-headed monster?
They're all so different, but they all work so well together. It's been really fun to coach them so many years in a row, and Riley and Layla still not even being seniors. Lucky me, lucky us. Layla's incredible, obviously. Her stats speak for herself. Her Boston College commitment speaks for itself. But I think one of the most impressive things that you'll see going into the season is she's now pretty much a lefty. She wanted to get better on her left hand and potentially overtrained if that's possible, and now can do everything left-handed. You'll probably see her line up for 8 meters, all lefty. She'll probably see her choose her left hand now, and she grew up a righty up until last year. So that's been fun. Makes her extra threatening because she can take that 8 meter and shoot from either side. Dylan is just the most phenomenal full field player. She is part of every single play somehow on all sides of the field at all times. I can ask her to do anything and she's got it. And Riley is really what won us a lot of games. I know teams would prep for Layla, Dylan, they'd work on a face guard for Layla. And if they were strong enough, they might have a face guard for Layla and Dylan. And even if you lock up those 2, Riley would rack up a ton of goals. She got 7 goals in our section championship over Minnetonka, more than anyone else. And is just goal hungry down there on attack.
Well, what else do you have coming back for this year's team? I mean, you lost 4 seniors. We talked about Alex. Goalie returning. She was a junior last year, 9.11 goals against average, 45%. Gianna Parrish. What do you see coming from Gianna this year?
Yeah, we actually have 2 goalies, Gianna Parrish and then Sydney Anderson. And they split
They did split time. Yep, you're right.
Yes, they split time. They play completely different, and the stuff they save is completely different. But when you crunch the numbers, they come out really similar. So
remarkably similar, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. We thought we were gonna play them both and see who came out on top, and we just ended up splitting all the way till the end through the state tournament. And it works really well. And now we kind of have a strategic split where we know which goalie will work against different teams. Really excited for them both to come back. Gianna's a senior, but we get Sydney for a couple more years. And then on defense, we lost our 3 defense captains, but we call them Big D, and we had Little D training under them all season in preparation for them graduating. So we have carbon copied those 3 into a new little 3 down there who are now Big 3. They're pretty good. And they just shadowed our starting defense all last year and are ready to step up.
Awesome. Well, what else do you see in in the section? You were first seed, won the section. Minnetonka, number 2 seed, and was runner up. And then went down Chanhassen, Chaska, Delano, Eden Prairie, Westonka, and down the line. What do you see coming up for this year in the section 2?
I think it's going to shake out pretty similarly. My assistant coach is kind of a living, walking lacrosse historian, and not that takes a historian to know about Judy Baxter, but she gave the girls a really good Section 2 speech last year because they're all too young to know what we're talking about when we say the Judy Baxter legacy. And she reminded them that coming out of Section 2, making it to the section championship in Section 2, let alone coming out of it, was completely unheard of and thought to be impossible for 20 years there. And how big of a deal it is that there's someone in Section 2 that's not Eden Prairie that is getting talked about. And that really resonated with the girls. And she pulled up stats and showed them how many state championships and consecutive state appearances Judy had with Eden Prairie. And here we are. And I think same as last year, Minnetonka will be our biggest competition. We love playing Minnetonka. We're going to play them right away at the beginning of the season. Start off strong. They've got a great team. It's really fun to watch some of those girls. Lily Palm. I've coached Chloe Ronnie, and I'm excited to see her. They've got a bunch of other strong girls. I'm really excited for that game, and I think we will see them in section playoffs again. And then as far as our section, Eden Prairie is still fun to play. I love Coach Brooke. And it's still a strong section. I think at any year, just like Orono has done, any of these teams can get the right combination of kids and pull it together.
What do you know about the C3 teams, Chaska, Chanhassen?
I'm always impressed with the C3 teams. First of all, obviously their youth program is next level, organized, loyal players, dedicated families. So I'm very jealous of that. Especially in Orono, we have a good youth program. I'm really lucky for the one we do have, but it's not full spring, summer, like some of these other associations. So really jealous of what C3 has, and really respectful coaches, and also love playing them. They never make it easy, never have over 4 years. They were very scary to us year 1 and continue to be intimidating. I think this group that I have has been with me for so many years, and so many of them started so young that approaching some of these teams, even if the stats are in our favor going into a game, they still have the same nerves they had year 1 when the stats were not in our favor.
Well, great. That's about all I have for you today. Thanks so much for coming on and talking a little Orono lacrosse and little Section 2 lacrosse. As you head out, anything that you want to talk about? Anything that's your passion, your alley, anything that's really important to you inside or outside of lacrosse?
I think the Orono story, as you might say, over the last 3 years, just proves that with a little confidence and instilling that confidence in young girls, especially, can completely change the narrative. I mean, there is Layla Nick, who was probably born ready to play at Boston College, but the rest of these girls are multi-sport athletes and have been playing for a long time, and just need a little confidence boost. And they'd just been told that this program wasn't good and that they weren't good and they would never win their conference. They would never make it out of the section quarterfinals. And I think we came in, honestly, I was probably overly naive my first year and came in with so many big hopes and dreams, but it was so authentic. I really believed that we could be something really good, and it rubbed off on them. And that's all they needed, just some confidence and some positive coaching. So my message is to keep it up all across the state.
Well, thanks a lot for hopping on. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Jane.
Thanks, Jane.
See ya.
And thank you to the head coach of Orono, Jane Kolar, for coming down the alley, breaking down Section 2 girls lacrosse, and giving us some great insight into her program as well. I wish, every year we could just get a manager warming up the goalie and say, hey, take off that jacket, throw some equipment on. You're going to be in our starting lineup this year.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Like, I mean, wild. That doesn't even make sense.
And this isn't on a anybody team. Like, this is a team that
the team
won Section 2 last year,
made state,
went to state, did well at state, like the whole bit. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and they were a top 5, top 3 at one point team all year. And also shout out to Jane on a quick Google search, 2024 Coach of the Year. So
I did see that too when I was looking her up.
To her on that. I know that was 2 seasons ago, but has built a very nice program there.
Built a nice program. She's being super nice to other teams and programs, in her section. About complimenting C3 and their youth. Orono might not be there yet in terms of numbers, but from what I'm hearing from the people I'm working with, it sounds like it's becoming more of a thing. Maybe it sounds like more of the multi-sport athletes are adding lacrosse to their bag, to their schedule. It's not just maybe all hockey. Like, it's hockey and lacrosse, or it's, whatever and lacrosse. Even on the girls' side of things in Orono. So I think there's a wave coming in Orono girls lacrosse here.
Yeah. I do want to touch on a couple of these teams a little bit. I know she didn't dive too much into some of the players. We talked about her top players, Dylan Collins, Layla Nick, Riley Teal, and also their goaltending as well. I think they're probably the favorite again this year with that, that core. But she touched on Lily Palm for Minnetonka, 72 points last year, going to UConn. She's a senior, committed to UConn. It looks like, and source, correct me if I'm wrong, they had 8 seniors graduate. So again, keeping on that Section 2 theme of a lot of graduation. But like the boys side, the depth is there in the youth program, in the JV, and the prep team program to replace that. And they're just going to they might take their lumps at certain points, but there's enough talent there to replace it.
Yeah, there's some youth making a little bit of noise coming up in the Minnetonka program on the club scene, and even as part of the team last year. Probably going, now that they lose Claire Gilbert, who, the leading scorer, 90 points last year, there's a little bit of space there for them to fill in. Probably going to take some lumps, but they still have Lily Palm there as sort of a safety blanket, to protect them. They did lose their goalie, their starting goalie, so that's a little bit of an issue. But yeah, I think the Minnetonka Orono matchup for the next couple of years in Section 2 is pretty exciting. Definitely going to be a factor for a few years down the road.
Yeah. Chanhassen, a team that was in the state championship game a couple seasons ago, had I don't know, I call it, a tough year for them, 5-8. I know they play a tough schedule. So a 5-8 with their schedule might not be as bad as maybe it looks. But to see them kind of struggle was, I don't know, a little bit shocking to me, I guess. But it sounds like they have, a pretty good player coming back in Zoe Zielinski, headed to Akron after her senior year. They did graduate some players, but we talked about, again, Jane talked about it, the C3 program does a good job at the youth level developing players and getting them ready for high school. So are they going to be down long? I don't know. Your thoughts on Chanhassen?
Yeah, Hannah Graham is probably their biggest loss from last year. She's up at Northern Michigan now. Zoe Zielinski was an issue for Prior Lake last year, especially in the first half in the regular season game against them. She was playing low attack and just kind of had her way the first half until we made a couple of adjustments. I'm really curious about the Chaska Chanhassen dynamic on the girls' side. I don't know what feeder school is what and which school is up or down in the C3 program. I've got my eye, not to jump off of Chanhassen here, but I got my eye on Chaska. Uh, Chaska is returning their top at least 5 leading scorers, only one of whom is a senior this year. They have goalie coming back. They have a lot of pieces in place to kind of crack into the top 3 and 4. And if I'm Minnetonka or an Orono, like don't sleep on Chaska. Um, Maybe this year might be another step in the learning process, but watch out. That's my new wagon of section 2.
Chaska, they got these notes here have dark horse written all over them. Not team you hear a lot about, but like you said, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 scorers coming back. The goalie's coming back. If Katie was here, she'd be all over that. She loves returning.
Loves returning goalies.
Goaltending is important. Yeah, Chaska team, a dark horse team that's going to help me with my picks. Now that I'm reading through this, any other maybe notables? I think Eden Prairie 3-12 last year, which was I don't know if they've lost 12 games total in the last 12 years combined, let alone in one season. Definitely a rebuilding year for them, but they get some players back and Sarah David and Kelsey Pottinger.
I want to hear more about this Mound West Tonka.
Mound West Tonka, big factor. That's really the dark horse, I think, is Mound West Tonka. Chaska is too, but twins Madison and Grace McCutcheon, lots of points, lots of draw controls. Grace is going to D3 Wesley, but they have a lot of pieces, and they're 8-7 last year and played a decent game against Tonka in the section quarterfinals. I'm also keen on West Tonka. Delano also not too shabby. Kind of interesting story. Lots going on. You can't pick everyone. You can only have 4 of the top 4. But they're returning their first, second, and fourth leading scorers. So, like, there's some the midfield in section 2 is pretty interesting, kind of and kind of tasty. Then you have Eden Prairie. Yeah, Eden Prairie, weird year, 3-12, 6th seed in the section. Pretty safe to say they've never been the 6th seed in the section. A lot of pride though. They won their section quarterfinal game. They do have 2 big scorers coming back, both D2 commits in David and Pottinger. They have probably questioned a goalie, or at least they don't know, they lost their graduating goalie. So, yeah, it's kind of curious. It's not your grandmother's section 2, that's for certain.
To the most controversial part of these section previews are the picks. Let's go back to the boys' side. Let's let this. I feel like this girls thing, we need to throw that in the crock pot. Let that simmer for a second. We need to go over to the boys. I need to think more. I need to buy myself some time on this girls' side. Maybe I'll hear the source pick the girls first. On the boys' side, Ted, who are you taking in your top 4 on the boys' side?
Oh man.
Well, before you get into that, Ted, you asked me this question last week, PMAC. Who is the stud in the section 2 for the boys' side?
Good question. On the girls' side, I'll give you the answer. The BC commit out of Orono. I don't think
I'm worried about that's.
No, I know. I just want to throw that out there. I want to make sure that's known.
Good take.
Hey, on the girls' side, watch out. There's a Boston College commit in the section. If you don't know, just like in hockey, Boston College is really good at girls lacrosse. Don't have a men's lacrosse team, unfortunately. Maybe someday, probably not because of football and Title IX. But in girls lacrosse, if you're committed to Boston College and you live in Minnesota, there must be something going on here. So I'm going to get that one out of the way. On the boys' side, you've got, I think you could go a couple different directions. You've got the defensive Old Southern Barbecue Player of the Year at Chanhassen. I don't know if you've got an offensive player ready to make that call out. Maybe in a couple years when they're not freshmen and 8th graders anymore. Maybe in a couple years when they're upperclassmen, we could go to Chanhassen for an offensive player. my mind goes to then Tonka. You could probably go a couple different directions, maybe on this roster. Um, since we have a defensive player of the year coming back, I'm not going to point to a Tonka defenseman. I'm going to ask Ted if you had to take one offensive player on Tonka and throw him on Farmington, who are you stealing?
Yeah, I think when you asked stud of the section, player of the section, I was going to go Riley Severson of Chanhassen, DePaul, defensive player of the year, Yale commit, plays man up for Chanhassen.
Not a
Probably
big deal.
they had a bunch of younger players, phenomenal player. But to answer your question, I think all of those guys that Garrett mentioned are great. I would take Laird Cassidy. You can't teach 6'6", 225, and a 98-mile-per-hour shot. Like that's just physical tools that God-given physical tools. So I would probably take Laird Cassidy, but I do want to shout out Tommy Winkler. I know Garrett talked about him a little bit. Super underrated player. Had the opportunity to coach him a tiny bit at one point. And he's a big guy. He's kind of a fluid, not like a quick shifty guy. He just gets the right spot, makes the right play, and then all of a sudden kind of sneaky has 4 goals in a game.
Is he kind of he's a crease guy, right?
I don't know if he plays the crease necessarily in Garrett's offense, but he's great around the goal. Yeah, but to answer your question, I think I'd go Laird Cassidy, 79 points last year, the physical tools. He would probably be my offensive player of the section, and Riley Severson would probably be my defensive player of the section.
Okay. I would agree.
Fair enough. And on the girls' side, I don't want to discount Dylan Collins. Actually led Orono in scoring in 99 points, 135 draw controls. She's legit. But yeah, when you think about Boston College commit and Lily Palm over at Minnetonka, like you said, Ted going to UConn, she's a really, really strong player as well.
They are a 2-headed monster, Orono, right?
3. Yeah. And they have the Riley Teal at attack also.
3-headed monster. Oh, even better. Even better. Better to have 3 heads than 2. More heads, the better.
And their managers are better than half.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, who are they going to pull off the sideline this year to, what did the manager put up in points last year?
She had 14 goals, 7 assists, 21 points, 30 ground balls, and 57 draw controls.
So they're a point-a-game player, and they're mucking it up in draw controls and ground balls.
Would that be called the Jake Gensel treatment? Hey, I know you're a manager, but we're going to actually have you play midfield with Dylan Collins and Layla Nick. Hey, stand in front of the net, put your stick up, and you're going to get 14 goals and 14 points throughout the season. Not to take anything away from her. Obviously a phenomenal athlete going Division I hockey, was able to make it work. But I think that's got to be to the point, I think, not take anything away from Coach, how great of a job she's done there, but that's an embarrassment of riches, as they say, where your manager, you're like, grab the stick, you're going in, and then end up in the starting lineup. I think that's a really cool story, actually. But picks for the boys, I think I have my picks here. I'm not confident about these. This section could go a lot of different ways on the boys' side. I think Tonka at 1 is kind of the obvious. They're definitely the heavy favorite. But then after that, there's a lot of potential contenders. I'm going to go Chanhassen 2. The fact that they were able to hang in there last year with the young group that they had, I think they're going to be better this year. I don't know if they're going to be able to run with Tonka in a section final, but I think they're going to be good enough in the regular season to get the 2 seed. I'm going to go Chaska 3. I think there's some pieces there. I think they're motivated. And losing Atterbury is tough, but it might actually open things up a little bit. They might have a better system by losing a player like that. On the offensive end. And then I'm going to go Orono 4. I'm a little concerned on how they're going to score, but I'm taking Garrett's advice here from the eye test in Winter League that they have the systems in place, recession-proof offense, as he said. And, it seems like the new players coming in are running the system, and it's looking good. and they have some defensive pieces. So I'm going Tonka, Chanhassen, Chaska, Orono as my 4.
I agree with you in the sense that I think there's a lot of question marks, and I think we'll know a lot more April 18th about this section. I agree. I think Tonka is, maybe the source will disagree with us. In my mind, Tonka is the kind of undisputed number 1 going into the preseason. I don't see much of an argument against that. Then comes, it's just a lot of bias from here, right? Where are my biases gonna take me? I agree. Chanhassen number 2. I think they've got good systems. You see what they're doing from top to bottom with their youth program. Their staff has been around. They do things the right way year in, year out. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. Chanhassen at 2. And then from here is where are you going to throw your darts? Where are you gonna place your chips? Are you gonna put them on purple? Are you gonna put them on black? Are you gonna put them on green? Are you gonna put them on red? There's a few different colors in this section that you could choose. I'm gonna choose Buffalo. I don't know. I have no clue. I know they've got a young returning goalie, and I'm gonna ride them. Hopefully, there's something there that we can build off of. And then I'm going with Orono. I liked what Garrett was saying. Obviously, this coach made a huge difference going 13-3 after kind of out of nowhere. With that coaching change, just all of a sudden, sparked something. Brunsvold had a lot of good things to say about Coach Edwards and the offense. I'm going to trust that process, that there might be something brewing here with this new staff, and they're going to stay in the top 4.
So I wrote down a top 4 before the recording, and mostly it's a game I'm playing because I don't know much about the boys' side. And I scribbled out the second, third, and fourth spots each twice as I was listening to you guys talk. So I got Tonka number 1. Yeah, that at least I got that right. I had forgotten that Chan has the most prestigious award in Minnesota lacrosse, returning the Defensive Player of the Year. So I had to move them up to number 2. And then, yeah, same boat, like Chaska, Orono, and Buffalo. Like a lot of issues going on a lot of those schools. I ended up settling with Chaska at 3 and Orono at 4, just like Ted. Bison Boulevard, like I don't know. To me, it's the same story as Orono. They basically lost their offense, and what do they have coming back? And so, sorry, no more Bison Boulevard for me. I'm going Tonka, Chan, Chaska, Orono.
I will say that Buffalo didn't have a lot of grad years on their team, so I kind of was doing some external research, but I didn't go down the whole roster. So they might have like a bunch of guys coming back. I don't know, but
They'll probably win the section now.
I gave up after like 5 kids, and I was like, okay, the 5 kids I looked up were 2025s and graduated, and it was their top 5 scorers. So I was like, okay, I'm done with this now.
Over to the girls. I'm gonna let the source pick first. I'm gonna let Ted pick second. I think I'm gonna take last. I'll bring up the trail here. Source. What are you seeing in section 2 on the girls' side?
I don't see any change in the top 2. I see Orono number 1, led by their 3-head monster. Of course, they need to find a new manager to start, but yeah, Orono 1, led by Leyland Nick and Dylan Collins and Riley Teal. On offense, Minnetonka, Lily Palm is going to educate and school up those youngsters and get them ready to do battle in future years. I don't see much stopping Orono this year. I've got Chaska at 3. Maybe a little early, maybe not. It's an opportunity in the section that's ripe for the taking. There is no clear cut 3, 4, and 5. So I'm big on Chaska this year. Let's go Hawks. And then, on my own list, I had 3 different names written down for number 4, and I'm going to settle on Mound West Tonka. Partially so Ted has to go find a new graphic. but I'm really curious to see what happens there. I think it could be something interesting. And why not? Why not have a new school come in fourth in the top four?
PMAC's not going to buy as much time as he thought. Um, I wrote down my teams before the source even went, and I have the exact same lineup. Orono at 1, Tonka at 2, Chaska at 3, Mound West Tonka at 4. I do want to say I kind of now going back at the boys, I might want to throw Hutchinson in there with that goalie. That could have been a dark horse pick. We forgot about them, but picks are in. Can't go back. But yeah, back to
ballots in the box.
Yeah, ballots in the box. Orono, Tonka, Chaska, and Mound West Tonka are my 4 on the girls' side.
First 2, I will follow your guys' lead. Orono and Tonka. I think we've said enough about both of these rosters. Studs of the section are going to be coming out of these squads. I'm going to be fading Chaska because the source is always early on one team at least, right? There's always something that the source is early about. And I think the source might be early on Chaska, and there's just something about Chaska to me. I don't know. I don't know. So we're for no particular reason, I guess I'm betting that the source is early on them. I'm fading this pick. And I'm gonna go. I like this Mountain West Tonka, right? I had them. I was asking questions early and often in this episode about them. I think there's a vibe here. I don't know what it is. And then the source did bring up, hey, don't forget about Delano. Don't forget about the rest. That might be the dark horse. So I'm going to jump on the dark horse. Delano at 4.
All right. There you have it.
If you want room, you want a nice seat on the Chaska wagon, we'll save you a spot. Don't worry about it.
Section 2, we didn't talk about any main streets, but if you have a chance to go check out that old Southern barbecue on Excelsior or in Excelsior on, is it Water Street, I believe, PMAC?
Believe so.
Go check that out. Get your grab party organized and booked. Sounds like now's the time if you need tents and chairs and catering. It all has to be done now. Speaking, from the source who went through it last year. Section 2, very interesting section on the boys and the girls. I think there's some clear-cut number 1s, but a lot of options for the contenders, for
a lot of opportunity.
Some teams to mix it up and throw a wrench in the section playoffs. But we haven't even gotten to the start of the season yet, so section playoffs are a ways away. So we'll kind of see how this shakes out. But next week, section 3, I believe it used to be the section of the people.
The people section.
I don't know if it still is that. I guess
we'll figure it out.
We'll find out. But any closing remarks on section 2?
Hey, I need one thing from the big guy at Old Southern Barbecue. After the quote unquote big game is over, we have a little golf tournament coming up in April. The Masters. Let's see if we can put together an Old Southern Barbecue Masters thing. Shout out to the big guy.
Yeah, Masters prices.
Masters, whatever. Let's just do it. It's golf season, baby.
Yeah. If the big man wants to do an iteration of a pimento cheese, I would not say no to that.
A smoked pimento cheese
that
like you do up sometimes.
That could be pretty good.
Hey, free ideas. Dreams are free and ideas are free. If he gets it this far in the episode, maybe
I don't think he tunes out until the final. I think he is. There's no way he's out of this episode yet. Before we jump into office hours here, to get our coaches, voices warmed up. Do you want to dive into anything, or are you done with this episode? Because I can save it for next episode if you're done.
Why don't you save it for next episode?
We're gonna save it for next episode. I came across something, so tune in next week. We got the people section, and we got something that I don't know if it triggered me, but it's written down, and I'll bring it up next episode.
Coming next week. Can't wait.
Coming next week, a PMAC rant. We'll talk to y'all. Catch you on the flip side. Have a great day, night, morning, whatever you're listening to this. Adios.
See you, boys.
Adios.